Hi, and welcome to another edition of Grab a Punt with Lunt. I'm your host, Gary Lunt, and this week's guest really needs no introduction.
Gary, if you could just introduce him, then we don't get any angry emails like last time.
Did we?
Yeah, they didn't know who your guest was.
Oh, right. Well, I'd like to welcome to the show an absolute legend of the stage and screen. Please welcome the star of Jaws, Jaws 2, Jaws 3D, and Jaws the Revenge. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce the Shark.
Gary, dear boy, it's a pleasure.
Welcome to the studio. Sorry, do you prefer Bruce the Shark or just Bruce?
Oh, let's not stand on ceremony. Bruce, please.
So how about we dive in at the deep end? Jaws, one of the biggest films of all time. How did that happen?
Well, I was just another character actor creeping the boards, working in rep. I cut my teeth, as it were, on the classics, Shakespeare, Chaucer, Chekhov. Then one day I got a call from my agent saying, "Bruce, darling, there's an American film director who wants to see you." I thought, an American? Oh, how exciting. You see, I just finished a run at the Old Vic with Anthony Hopkins. He was still drinking in those days. It was something of a shambles. He'd make a point of pulling on my fins during performance. So I went to the meeting, and in walks this young man, long hair, surfer gait, Spielberg. I thought, what kind of name is Spielberg? It's ridiculous. Of course, it's practically a verb now.
And how did he convince you to take the part?
He said to me, "Bruce, this is a story about a town beset by fear, primal fear, the fear of the outsider."
The shark.
Well, he never used that word. In fact, for most of the meeting, I thought he wanted me to play the mayor character. The next thing I know, I'm gill-deep in the North Atlantic.
The filming of Jaws has gone down in cinematic history as being, somewhat of an ordeal for everyone involved. Now, what are your memories?
It's chaos. Absolute chaos, Gary. The script was always changing. The sea was merciless. I don't think there was a single day Robert Shaw was sober. As for Dreyfus, well, that wetsuit he wears in the film, that was his. I mean, he was a kinky little chap.
There must have been days when you'd been out on the water all day and you'd reached your physical and mental limit.
Oh, many. I remember I did 38 straight takes of me opening my mouth. And finally, I just snapped, and I yelled to Stephen, "Why don't you come into this effing water, strap these barrels on your back, and see how you effing cope?" But, I channeled it all into the performance. It's all there. It's all there in my eyes.
That scene where you eat Robert Shaw. Wow.
Well, that was an emotional day. I mean, Robert had just received his tax bill, and I had shingles. But, when the cameras rolled, we just went for it.
So the film gets released and becomes this monster hit. You must have been surprised.
Oh, it was a surprise for us all. I mean, suddenly our little film is smashing box office records the world over.
You invented the summer blockbuster.
That's right, yes. I was a superstar. I mean, I was on the cover of every magazine. I was on every program. I couldn't walk down the street for 18 months. It was like being one of the Beatles, the glorious years.
Now, I know you've never gone on record about the sequels, but with the benefit of hindsight, how do you feel about them?
Gary, the first question you ask yourself as an actor is, what is the story? And I remember sitting with Roy, lovely, lovely Roy, in the bar of the Ivy, and him saying, Bruce, we caught lightning in a bottle. How could we possibly do it again? I said, Roy, we have to. For the public. I still think Jaws 2 has some lovely moments. I did an a cappella version of I'm in the Mood for Dancing in one scene, but it never made the final cut.
And Jaws 3 and 4, come on, let's be honest, they're shit.
Well, I was going through a rather messy divorce at the time of Jaws 3 Dimensional, so I was heavily medicated. I don't think I've ever seen it, actually, but I can tell you, fin on heart, I was very excited about Jaws 4. I mean, my career had stalled at that point.
Because of the drugs.
Because of the drugs, the booze, the prostitutes. So when they said, we've got Michael Caine, I thought, fantastic. And then they said, we're shooting in the Bahamas. I thought, fantastic. And then they said to me, the film's going to be about Ellen Brody's relationship with the shark. I thought, finally, I can put this character's side of things across. You see, he's not a monster, Gary. He's merely driven by very real needs. You know, the need to feed. But, alas, it wasn't meant to be.
So, after Jaws 4...
Well, I couldn't get work. I mean, Christ, I couldn't get arrested. I drifted into musical theatre, worked the summer season at Butlins. I was using painkillers quite heavily. It was a dark time.
And am I right in saying you actually appeared in Friends?
Yes, I was in the pilot episode of Friends. I played Gunther. I played him as a frustrated lute player who'd taken a job in a coffee house to support his lute playing. I was recast.
Wow. And now you're releasing your autobiography, bitten off as much as I can chew, which is great, fantastic read. When you speak about the first time you realised you were different from the other kids...
Gary, I have no illusions as to what I look like. I mean, when you see me coming down the street, all 25 feet of me, with my fin and my top hat, you're going to stop and you're going to stare. You're going to stare at me, Gary. And rather than that be a hindrance, I've always turned it to an advantage. You see, my father let it hold him back.
You speak very passionately about your father in the book. Can you tell us a little bit more about him?
Well, my father, he worked in a pound bakery. He was a quiet man. He's hunched up when he walked. He almost shrank. You'd never know there was 46 feet of him under his overcoat. Never know. But he taught me values that have stayed with me my entire life.
And what were those?
How to make a Cornish pasty.
Beautiful. Now, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but Bruce, it's been an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce the Shark.